never be a sucker, and never be a fool. Some of the worst decisions you'll ever make in your life will be justified by the pursuit of love. And ultimately, nobody's going to feel sorry for you if you're out here making dumb decisions with women. On a basic level, the right kinds of women are the ones who supplement not just you, but the type of lifestyle you want to live. There's less friction and it's more seamless. And even though you can bounce back from the wrong women, those hiccups can sometimes really stick with you, one way or the other. Some of these concepts might be new to you, some might be true to you, but I think by the end, you'll have a better understanding of what I'm trying to convey here. So anyway, let me touch on a few points. First of all, my number one rule is to never be delusional about women. An example of this, and if I could be a little bit transparent here, I never assume that a woman can never change her mind about me. I never assume that what I perceive her to be is what she really is. I never assume that I'm the only one a chick could ever feel some type of way about. I may be unique as an individual, but a woman's ability to have feelings for someone is not unique to me, if you catch what I'm saying. And I never put anything past any of them because I know how poorly that can go. Once I established these viewpoints for myself, things became a lot more palatable. Some folks have trust issues, I have reasonable doubt. Everything is subject to change or interpretation. Something as fickle as feelings can be altered by pretty much anything, and ultimately, there's just certain things you can't control. So, if I bought into the idea that every woman I came across or took interest in is special, I'd be a fool. Similarly, if I thought I was immune to being on the wrong side of a situation, I'd be a fool too. Every guy thinks the girl he picks is an exception, but they can't all be exceptions, man. Somebody takes an L every minute, every day. One of the goofiest things you can do, in modern times especially, is trusting a woman a little bit too much. Like, they be lying, man. And you know what's funny? Even women will tell you not to trust women too much. Obviously, you don't have to be blindly paranoid about them in a weird way, but I'm talking more so about your demeanor, your temperament, your discernment towards them. When you're too forthcoming, too tender-footed, too malleable, too understanding, too quick to believe, too wide-eyed, and almost too honest to an extent, women can sniff that out from a mile away. There's just certain behaviors which signal to a woman that she can pretty much get away with anything towards you. And well, what happens after that? Some don't do anything with it, some take advantage in small ways, and others go all the way off the rails with disrespect. When a woman knows she has you wrapped around her finger, you may or may not find out what hell on earth looks like. A lot of suckers don't understand the bad side of love, the part where people do things they're not supposed to do, or things you don't expect. Your ego can really get the best of you. My girl would never. My girl has never. I got my girl in check. A lot of dudes find out that that's not the case. You never know until you know. If you've been in the game for a little bit, you realize love can oftentimes be a fantasy. Love can be disorienting. It can be weaponized. It can be manipulated. And even though you might know this, you can come to a crossroads of either doing things out of love or doing the smart thing. And when things are done out of love, there can be a very, very thin line between justification and desperation. A fool is not hard to spot. Suckers are useful, they're agreeable, and they never question the master. A lot of women love how suckers operate. They'll even hype them up to recruit other men into being suckers too, but they don't love the sucker himself. They'll be like, oh my God, stepfathers are so great. We love a man who never expects anything from us. A man is so secure if he lets me hang out with other men, or he lets me be a fully grown brat. I like to call these types of things goofy traps. They're laid out there for potentially goofy dudes to fall into, and I think oftentimes the most liable to this practice are hopeless romantics. Dudes who are hopeless romantics are in for a rocky road in these modern times, man. They're attached to the fantasy of what they think women are. There's usually a point in many of our lives where we thought we were the lover boy too, writing long messages, creating handmade cards, getting gifts, paying for things, catering to a woman up front in hopes of reciprocation, stretching yourself thin just to be in contact or companionship. But it turns out that we were the suckers, and guys like that are food on the dating market. It's one thing to listen to relationship gurus and dating gurus or watch movies where the good guy does the right things and wins because it sounds good in theory and it makes for a good story. But the problem with that behavior is it elevates her and puts her on a pedestal. It sets the standard of expectations too high. And this is also the most relevant one, but it doesn't actually guarantee that she wants you. And now that I mention it, one of the things that bugs me the most about typical dating and relationship advice is that it's cookie cutter, it's full with platitudes. It assumes that the woman you're dealing with is operating in good faith or actually wants you again. It's easy for a woman to claim she's attracted to the nice things, the good things, but it's hard to admit when she's attracted to the bad things too, because bad things aren't supposed to be attractive. They're supposed to be, well, bad. And I think a big part of it is just that for things to work in an optimal way, a woman has to lust for you to some degree. And I mean lust in the sense of a raw, passionate feeling for you that she can't necessarily rationalize. When lust is not part of the equation, love can start looking real different, especially once you've served your purpose for her. If lust isn't there, making yourself useful is the only way you can get a receptive response. And truth be told, it's kind of easy for a woman to fake being in love with you or to fake loving you. But it's hard for them to fake lust though, because they have to draw a line somewhere, whether it's intimacy or contact or whatever you want to call it. And another fact we have to recognize is that a lot of women nowadays come from the hoeing region, and they're running major game out here. You can't go off appearance because the aesthetics and the styles are all the same now. You can't go off perception because the most unassuming types will do you the worst. You can't go off assumptions because as an extension of perception, many of them know how to curate their image with something like a classy, modest girl act. You can't go off reputations because they're doing things like being scandalous in the back channels, moving to different cities, converting to different religions, dating each other, claiming they're celibate. And I haven't even mentioned the ones that may or may not be on some type of medication or a narcotic or need to be on one. At any rate, I'm just saying, dog, many men have no idea how good a woman can be at duplicity. But look, what I always say as a joke is, you can love a hoe, but you don't want to fall in love with a hoe. There's a conglomerate of ladies who only have interest in dating with intention or dating to be serious after their hardships or bad decisions have come to collect. And since there's plenty of these types who've been around the block, sometimes they'll do some sneaky or grimy things behind your back just to test the waters. It could be texting, calling, video chatting, FaceTiming, and meeting other men. And the next time she comes around you, she's watching you, your body language, your facial expressions, your words, just to see if you know, just to see if you have any clue or idea of what she's doing. This is what happens when they're out here like that. This is what happens when they gain more and more experience. When you probably don't notice what she's doing, that'll just reaffirm her choice to do these things. If a woman views you as a fool, the respect goes out the door. But look, man, over the years, I've realized that when you're younger, love is cheap, but as you get older, it gets more and more expensive. Being a sucker at 18, 19, early 20s may not be a big of a problem. You might not get yourself as many issues, but we all got to go through some character development, I guess. But past the age of 25 or 26, you can't afford to do it anymore. There's higher costs, penalties, and consequences for not being proactive and aware in your approach with women. Generally speaking, the pool of available women gets trickier as you get older. You're dealing with baggage that's projected onto you as if you were the cause. You're going to find a lot more women who have kids too, which causes a lot of men to throw in the towel and become stepdads at 25 because they really want love. The expectations are just higher. There also reaches a point where almost no women you meet are fully single. She might be single physically, but she's not single mentally or emotionally or sexually. But if you're paying attention, you know it's something else. The way you give love is not the same way someone might receive love. So a very common thing I see is a woman might love you for what you do for her, but doesn't love you. Some like a man who practices combat training on them. Some like being cheated on. Some like the drama that ensues in tracking down and the suspense and finding out things. Some like being lied to. All as long as the man comes back home to her at the end of the day. That's how she perceives love. There's a reason that she felt attracted to those kinds of men in the first place. And if all the men who she's been with before have done that, that's how she'll gauge how much she loves you too. And what happens is, when they match with a man who doesn't do those things, it subconsciously communicates to them that you're a pushover or a punk or something just isn't right. And many just don't know how to handle it. You also learn that if you're one of those guys out there who just wants to be in a relationship, Love only works for a little while, but it doesn't mean things will run smoothly. It ain't gonna make up for being broke. It ain't gonna make up for incompatibility. It ain't gonna make up for fear of missing out on either end. And it ain't gonna make up for a space you can't fill in somebody's head. Moral of the story, sometimes you just gotta play your part. If you had a hard time out here, you probably ain't the only one. But ultimately, the onus is on you to not be a fool anymore. Suckers will always struggle because they're vulnerable to love, and they'll accept whatever they believe it should come with to get it. I'm just here to say that if you're gonna get caught holding the bag, you better know what's in it too. So anyways, y'all, appreciate y'all for watching again. I haven't posted in a while, maybe like a month or so. But I'm getting back into the swing of things. I've been kind of busy doing some personal projects and things of that nature. But I'm gonna be back out here very, very soon. I've had a few of y'all reach out to me, so I definitely appreciate that as well. But anyways, as I always do, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like button and leave a comment below sharing your thoughts. Subscribe to my newsletter where I share bits and pieces and notes just like this straight to your inbox. And as always, subscribe for more. Peace.